On the day I went to report to Peking University, Zhao Liang dragged me to the school with him and handed me his admission notice. You ignored me for the whole summer vacation. I'm giving you a way down this time. Help your big brother finish the registration. I couldn't help laughing. Zhao Liang, what kind of daydream are you having? Beijing Zhou Vocational College dares to hitch itself to Peking University. Hearing this, Zhao Liang froze. Under the mocking gazes all around, he opened the dusty notice and broke down on the spot. Why didn't you change it back for me? I snorted. Didn't you say yourself that I should mind my own business? When I found out Zhao Liang's application choices had been changed to a junior college, my heart skipped a beat. I touched my legs, then my head. Both were perfectly fine. I nearly cried. I was reborn, returning to the day Zhao Liang was changing his college application in my past life. The class beauty Su Shanshan randomly filled out a remote vocational college application for him. When I found out, I tried my best to stop her and harshly criticized her irresponsible behavior. Su Shanshan felt humiliated, apologized in tears, and then ran out. Unexpectedly, she missed a step, fell down the stairs, and became a high-level paraplegic. Unable to bear it, she committed suicide. Zhao Liang blamed it all on me, saying I meddled in other people's business. The day before I was supposed to report to my university, he tricked me onto the rooftop and pushed me off. Now, I pretended to know nothing. Seeing me walk over, Su Shanshan was so frightened that she quickly turned off the computer, looking at me somewhat guiltily. Qin Shihan, what did you just see? I saw you changed your college application choices. Hearing this, she suddenly sneered. Then don't even think about telling on me. I'm going to the same university as him. Whatever, it's none of my business. As soon as the words fell, Zhao Liang walked in. Seeing Su Shanshan and me in the classroom, his face was full of wariness. Qin Shihan, aren't you annoying, following me around like a shadow? I bent down and took all the review materials out of the drawer before speaking up. Is the school owned by your family? You can come, but I can't. He was stunned, not expecting this attitude from me. In the past, whenever I saw him, I would speak softly and gently, or follow behind him apologizing. Seeing him hanging out with Su Shanshan, I even tried hard to persuade him to focus on his studies. But now, what does any of that have to do with me? I packed my things, slung my backpack over my shoulder, and was about to leave when Su Shanshan hurriedly said, wait, I just casually changed Zhao Liang's college application preferences. Can you help me review them? She confidently showed the screen. Zhao Liang glanced at it and turned to me. Go on, say something. Weren't you pretty capable before? I shrugged. I'm not really interested in these things. He grabbed me by the arm. What do you mean? Didn't you say you wanted to apply to Peking University with me? Don't you have any reaction at all? Respect others' wishes, suit yourself. I shook him off and walked away without looking back. Zhao Liang was furious behind me, kicking the table hard. I ignored him. We hadn't gone far when our small group chat exploded. Zhao Liang, Su Shanshan signed you up for a vocational college. Are you just letting her mess around like that? Your scores are good enough for Jingda University. Zhao Liang, what's there to be afraid of? Qin Shihan will change it back for me later anyway. I just heard you arguing. Aren't you afraid she'll just drop it and not care? You should be more concerned about your own affairs. Zhao Liang, she's like a fussy old woman, she wouldn't dare not care. Zhao Liang, we argue, but I'll just coax her and she'll come back. I scoffed. Handle your own business yourself. I'm not your mother. Zhao Liang was furious. And the next second, I was removed from the group chat. This was his usual tactic. Whenever we argued before, he would kick me out of the group, and it was only after I humbly apologized that he would add me back. This time, I didn't care about any of that. I directly blocked him, left all the group chats, and only kept WeChat for a few close friends. After graduation, some relationships can be cut clean. In this lifetime, I will no longer meddle in others' karma. I will focus only on myself. Zhao Liang, I can't wait to see the look on your face when you get the admission letter too. After returning, I packed up all the gifts Zhao Liang had given me over the years and threw them in the trash. Even with over a decade of friendship, since he pushed me off the building in my past life, no matter how reluctant I might feel, I will never forgive him. While going downstairs to take out the trash, I happened to run into Zhao Liang's mother. She spotted me from afar and called out, Shihan, have you seen Zhao Liang? That kid isn't answering my calls or replying to my messages. I don't know, Auntie. Then could you call and ask for me? Auntie, I spread my hands. Auntie, I didn't bring my phone downstairs. Otherwise, why don't you call his friend and ask? Goodbye, Aunt Huang. Before she could say anything, I made up an excuse and left. First, in my previous life, after I died, my parents were devastated. They found out that Zhao Liang had gone up to the rooftop with me, but even though Aunt Huan knew full well that Zhao Liang had been involved in my death, she destroyed the surveillance footage and even helped Zhao Liang fraudulently obtain a psychiatric diagnosis certificate. She really had been quite nice to me before, but in front of her own son, everyone else had to step aside even if it meant giving false testimony. I didn't want any further contact with her now. As soon as I got home, I received a WeChat message from a friend, Shuhan, come out for dinner, a new barbecue restaurant just opened downtown. You can feast for just a few dozen bucks. I agreed immediately, no problem, let's call Zhang Yamo and go together. When we arrived at the place, Zhang Yamo patted me and said, isn't that Zhao Liang and his group? I heard he scored over 600 points and tells everyone he's going to Peking University. It's hilarious. Su Shanshan even said she wants to go with him. She only scored a little over 200 points. I could step on the answer sheet and get more than that. And she wants to go together. Fang Qing made a sarcastic remark with a funny face, making us all burst into laughter. At that moment, Zhao Liang came over. Seeing me, he sneered, Chen Shihan, you really are like a lingering ghost. Didn't you say you wouldn't bother anymore? Why are you following us again? Zhang Yamo and the others were a bit worried. I said calmly, is this your shop? The owner opened the door for business. And we're not allowed to come eat. Move aside, a good dog doesn't block the path. I pushed him aside and went to the front desk to verify the coupon. His face turned ashen. Zhang Yamo gave a thumbs up. Nice one, Shuhan, you're rising up. Yeah, I have nothing to do with him anymore. Zhao Liang, who was following behind, gritted his teeth and said, fine, Chen Shuhan, you'd better not meddle in other people's business. I ignored him and went to eat with my friends. Zhao Liang was sitting diagonally across from us. As if on purpose, he and Su Shanshan were feeding each other, which made me nauseous. I turned a blind eye and focused on grilling the meat. Halfway through the meal, I went to the restroom. Just then, a strong force pulled me aside. It was Zhao Liang. I frowned, but he shoved his phone in front of me. Why did you block me? I blocked you because I wanted to. Zhao Liang, we're done. You think I'm nosy, and I don't like chasing after you. Besides, didn't you say you have a girlfriend? In that case, it's better we keep our distance. Add me back, or it'll be so inconvenient to get in touch. We'll go to Jing University together later. As soon as he finished speaking, he tried to grab my phone, but I snatched it back. Zhao Liang, get this straight. After graduation, we have nothing to do with each other. Who I want to be friends with is my own business. Zhao Liang's mouth fell open. Just as he was about to speak, I cut him off. And another thing, be polite when we meet in the future. I'm not your anything. You should at least know basic manners, right? I gave him a glare and walked straight away. Zhao Liang was furious and was about to call me back when Su Shanshan arrived. 3. As if deliberately provoking me, he suddenly pressed Su Shanshan's head and kissed her. My heart ached with sharp, successive pangs, but I immediately smiled and walked past him calmly. Respect others' fate. I'm not some kind of pathetic person. After that, Zhao Liang never looked for me again, and I didn't look for him either. It was my mom who seemed a bit surprised. Shuhan, hasn't Zhao Liang come by for several days? Mom, we've graduated. Besides, he has a girlfriend now, so naturally he should spend time with her. Hearing this, my mom was instantly shocked. A girlfriend? Then he and I are just neighbors, that's all. Hearing my explanation, my mom was stunned. My dad chuckled beside her and said, that's right, they're just neighbors. Whether they come or not has nothing to do with us. Now that our daughter's college entrance exams are over, let's go on a trip. Hearing this, I was instantly thrilled. Dad, I want to go to Disney. No problem, I'll take some annual leave, and we'll all go out for a spin to relax. My mom happily agreed. The whole family was immersed in the atmosphere of searching for travel guides, completely unaware of the vibrating WeChat message. After I finalized the travel plans, I finally saw the screenshot Zhang Yamo sent me. Do you think Zhao Liang has lost his mind? He deliberately sent this for me to show you. I glanced at it. It was a screenshot of his college application choices, clearly showing Jianzhou Vocational College. I laughed when I saw this. He was deliberately hinting at me, but unfortunately, I had already blocked him. Shuhan, what's going on? Didn't he apply to Peking University? Su Shanshan applied for him. Is he crazy? Zhang Yamo was instantly shocked. Is he joking with his own future? Forget it. Respect others' fate. Zhang Yamo thought he had a problem with his head and turned around to block him as well. I smiled, and the next day, My whole family packed up and went on a trip. I posted many photos on my social media feed, went to Disneyland, and even had a buffet. Indeed, the demon realm has its own currency, and spending it made my wallet ache, but I was still very happy. That night, staying at the hotel, I received a call from an unknown number. It was Zhao Liang's voice. I heard you went traveling, where's your next stop? I'm going to check out Jing University. I want to get familiar with the environment in advance. Hearing this, he immediately chuckled. Chen Shihan, add me back. When you return, I have a gift for you. What I promised will never change. Zhao Liang, people must take responsibility for their own choices. He was about to speak when Su Shanshan's voice came from the other end of the line. Liang, could you grab a towel for me? He hurriedly hung up the phone. I looked at the friend request on my phone and decisively rejected it. The time was already 11:50. Zhao Liang, to change the course of your life, you have only 10 minutes left. I hope you can take responsibility for yourself. I've said all I need to say. I don't owe you anything. At that moment, Su Shanshan's friend request popped up. Chen Shihan, accept it. I ignored it, but she persisted. Zhao Liang and I checked into a hotel. Whatever happened between you two before, he's mine now. He won't go to Beijing University with you. He's mine for life. I snorted and blocked her. You can be locked together for all I care. I've got my own path to walk. As time ticked by, I confirmed my choice of major and took a deep breath. When the clock struck midnight and the final second passed, I let out a long sigh of relief. Zhao Liang, this is where our lives part ways. For after our trip, when we came back, a week had already passed. I went straight to my maternal grandparents' home and stayed there for over a month. When I returned, school was almost about to start, and I had already received my admission letter. Zhao Liang blocked me on the day I came home. Didn't I already tell you to add me back? You've been gone for over a month. Do you have any idea how worried I've been? Alright, I won't yell at you anymore. Hurry up and add me back. As soon as we met, he stopped me directly with an undeniable tone and held his phone out in front of me. I stayed silent, but he stubbornly stood there without moving. Seeing him like this, I sighed and finally added him back. Zhao Liang was finally satisfied. Chen Shihan, don't act petty with me anymore. Besides you, I won't talk to any other girls. Are you happy now? Hearing him say that, I couldn't help but be a bit stunned. What, did Su Shanshan dump you? His face immediately darkened. What do you mean dump? Don't put it so harshly. There was never anything between us to begin with. I just wanted to deliberately make you jealous. Shu Han, we agreed to go to Jingda together. She's only a junior college student with just over 200 points. How could I possibly choose her over you? Hearing that, I laughed. Zhao Liang, what exactly are we to each other? We're just neighbors. Don't talk about jealousy and such. You'll only make people misunderstand, and it'll end up affecting my chances of finding a boyfriend. Zhao Liang's expression turned ugly. Chen Shihan, what nonsense are you talking about? We grew up together, childhood sweethearts, and now you're still looking for a boyfriend. I shrugged and stepped back. We're just neighbors. No, we're not even neighbors. What childhood sweethearts? We're just classmates who've known each other for over 10 years. Zhao Liang, we're all grown up now. We have to take responsibility for the things we've done, don't we? My words made Zhao Liang frown slightly. Chen Shihan, what are you talking about? You're being completely unreasonable. After saying that, he stuffed a box into my hands. A gift for you. I opened it and took a look. It was a necklace, but the pendant was strange, a pearl, and it looked quite familiar. This is your birthday gift. I waited a month and a half to give it to you. So, what do you think? Pretty loyal of me, right? Have dinner with me tonight. No, we have guests at home. Sorry. And thank you for the gift. Goodbye. I turned and went upstairs. Zhao Liang's place was 3 floors below mine. He lived on the 3rd floor, and I lived on the 6th. Our home was indeed quite crowded with visitors. After learning I was admitted to Peking University, all the relatives at home were clamoring for me to set off firecrackers to celebrate. I stopped them. No need to make such a big show. It might attract resentment. Besides, the guy downstairs might not have done well on his exams. If he sees it, he'll have something to say again. My dad also nodded. That kid doesn't get it. We'll treat you all to a meal in a couple of days when we're about to leave. After returning, I told my dad about Zhao Liang. Upon hearing that he scored over 600 points but applied to a vocational college, my dad sighed deeply, bluntly calling him love-struck. They also said that I should keep my distance from someone with such poor judgment in the future. I think so too, in my past life, because he was close to Su Shanshan, and Su Shanshan hung out with people from outside the school. I warned him, but he was unhappy. Qin Shihan, how can you judge people by their appearance? Her relationship with those troublemakers is completely innocent. They're just friends, you shouldn't judge. Friendships based on looks. No profession is inherently noble or lowly. Even though they're troublemakers, they still value loyalty and righteousness. 5 Later, when he went out with Su Shanshan and didn't come back all night, I was the one who found him and forced him to study with me. I even threatened him that if he kept this up, I would tell the teacher to force him to live on campus, or even inform Aunt Huang. Only then did he back down, but deep down, he still held some resentment toward me. I don't understand why it turned out this way. Out of our over a decade-long childhood friendship, I tried to pull him out of that hell. He felt that I was trying to hurt him, and even wanted to take revenge on me. Now I've decided to respect his choice and stop asking so much of him, but instead he's come after me. I don't know how far he and Su Shanshan got in my previous life, but it must have been her and no one else. Otherwise he wouldn't have killed me for Su Shanshan, and this time I'm giving him what he wants and letting their relationship move one step closer, so I suppose he won't blame me anymore. Besides, if he can be at the same school as his beloved Shanshan, then I won't do anything to break them apart. With only a few days left until school starts, the family invited relatives and friends over for a meal. When Aunt Huang saw us come out, she even asked what I was doing. My dad casually mentioned it, and she immediately frowned. By rights, our Zhao Liang's acceptance letter should have arrived too. I don't know what's gotten into this boy. He's been hiding it from me and won't let me see it. I still don't even know what the admission letter from Peking University looks like. Shihan, show me yours. I smiled and opened the admission letter to show her. Aunt Huang gently stroked the letter, her eyes full of tenderness. That silly boy insisted he got into the same school as you and said he wouldn't show it until registration day. I have no idea what he's up to. Playing all mysterious, I just smiled without saying a word. Aunt Huang probably didn't know yet. He hadn't actually applied to Beijing University but to a vocational college. She'd probably be furious when she found out. As we walked, Aunt Huang muttered to herself. I noticed the cover of the admission letter looked different. We didn't say much more. The three of us exchanged a glance and simply left. After the celebratory meal came registration. My dad bought me a plane ticket, so I arrived early. On the way, I got a WeChat message from Zhao Liang. Qin Shihan, why did you leave without me? Still holding a grudge? Huh, didn't I already explain? Why are you being so petty? I even gave you a gift, and you won't even treat me to a meal. Just wait until we get to Beijing University. I'll teach you a lesson. Reading his message, I couldn't help but laugh. He really thought I couldn't live without him. I was wondering why the birthday gift he gave me looked so familiar. The chain was probably something he bought, but the pearl on the pendant was clearly the decoration from Aunt Huang's clothes. He didn't even bother pretending anymore, just threw something together and gave it to me. The original necklace pendant was a piece of jade, which I saw in Su Shanshan's short video. I didn't accept her WeChat friend request, but Su Shanshan has her own account where she posts short videos documenting every day she spends with Zhao Liang. On the very day I received the birthday gift, I saw Su Shanshan update a video. She was wearing a necklace around her neck. The chain was an ordinary silver one, but the pendant was exceptionally dazzling. It was clearly a high-quality jade carved into a teardrop shape. Her caption read, "Whatever I want, he'll get it for me no matter what. As for you, you only deserve the trash I leave behind." I shook my head and, before leaving, asked my dad to return this box to Zhao Liang. I guess he hasn't received it yet at this moment. Zhao Liang kept sending me messages, and I was utterly annoyed. I simply replied to him, "I'm coming by plane." Zhao Liang quickly responded, "Go ahead and scout the place first. When I get there, you're treating me to a meal." 6. Why does he sound so entitled? Doesn't he realize he's not even a student at Jing University? I didn't reply to him either. After arriving at Jing University, I sent a message to my parents to let them know I was safe. I've always been very independent, and I had already adapted to Jing University in advance, so I didn't ask them to see me off. By the time Zhao Liang arrived, it was already the third day. Qin Shihan, where have you run off to? I'm at the student registration office. Get over here now. He kept urging me to come over. Coincidentally, I had just signed up for a club, so I turned around and headed toward the registration office. Seeing Zhao Liang, I couldn't help but let out a scornful laugh. Noticing my arrival, he waved at me from afar, then tossed the admission notice and ID card over to me. "Hurry up and help me check in. Who told you to come early alone? I've been looking for you for ages." after we're done, you're treating me to a meal, don't forget." With a mocking smile on my face, I tore open the admission notice, glanced at it, and slapped it back into his hands. "Scamming your way into Peking University, Jingzhou Vocational College, how dare you come here to check in?" Hearing this, Zhao Liang's carefree grin froze on his face. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Even as he said that, he still lowered his head to take a look. When he saw the words on the admission notice, his hands began to tremble on the spot. I tilted my head and looked at him. "Zhao Liang, don't you know which school you applied to yourself?" He suddenly looked up at me, his face full of shock, his voice trembling. "Chen Shuhan, this joke isn't funny at all. Who's joking with you? Hurry up and report to the vocational college. If you delay, you'll miss the start of classes." He stared at me in disbelief, suddenly realizing something, and grabbed my wrist tightly. "Why didn't you help me change my application? Why?" He raised his voice, his eyes bloodshot, gripping my hand so hard it hurt. I jerked my hand away. "Are you crazy? You filled out the application yourself. Why should I change it for you?" "Zhao Liang, I told you, people have to take responsibility for their own actions. The application is so important. And you didn't listen when I reminded you, but you knew perfectly well. I just wanted to make you jealous." "Enough, I've said it before, we're just neighbors living in the same building, classmates for over a decade. I'm not anything to you. You're responsible for your own application. To make me jealous, you'd risk your own future. How childish can you be?" Zhao Liang immediately trembled, clutching his head and letting out a heart-wrenching scream. He kept kneeling on the ground, pounding the floor. Seeing him like this, I called Aunt Huang. I was really afraid something might happen to him. It wouldn't be good if he died at school. It was supposed to be a joyous day. The freshmen were arriving for registration, all filled with hope and anticipation. We couldn't let Zhao Liang ruin it. People around us gathered, and upon hearing what I said, everyone was shocked. "Oh my God, is this guy sick? He's gambling with his own future. Who lets someone else fill out their college application and then expects them to change it? Is he a giant baby? It's too late to regret now." "How many points did this guy score to get into Jingzhou Vocational College?" Zhao Liang immediately slumped to the ground, speechless. After a long while, he looked at me. "Chen Shuhan, are you taking revenge on me?" I spread my hands. "I've already informed Aunt Huang to have them come over. As for how to handle it, you can explain it to them yourself." After saying that, I was about to leave. 7. Zhao Liang suddenly stepped forward and grabbed my hand. "Chen Shuhan, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Seeing me with Su Shanshan made you jealous, so you deliberately didn't help me change my application choices, right? Do you know what? You ruined me." He raised his voice and shouted at me angrily. The students around us couldn't stand it anymore, and a senior came over and pushed him aside. "What are you going crazy about here? The college application, the account, and the password are all yours. What do you need her to change for you? Jingzhou Vocational College wasn't your own choice. Confirming your college application choices isn't your own responsibility." The admission letter arrived, and you didn't open it to check. Only on the registration day did you discover you weren't a student at Jing University. Did you take responsibility for yourself? How can you shift the blame onto someone else? 3 consecutive questions left him speechless on the spot. I then looked at Zhao Liang and said, "Su Shanshan helped you submit and modify your application choices, and she only got your account and password after obtaining your consent. She was your girlfriend at the time. Shouldn't you be looking for her instead? What's the point of coming to me?" "Zhao Liang, you can't just pin the blame on someone like this. If you keep causing trouble, I'll call the police." Zhao Liang stared at me with bloodshot eyes, then burst into loud sobs. After a long pause, with no other choice, I had to call the police. When the police arrived and learned about this absurd misunderstanding, they were utterly astonished, never imagining there could be such a person in the world. However, they couldn't say much about it and could only drag Zhao Liang away. Watching him leave, I thanked the senior student who had helped earlier and then returned to my dormitory. Soon, Zhao Liang's incident exploded across the school and the nearby university town. Shocked, bro. A prospective college student makes a huge blunder. Jingzhou Vocational College tries to pass off as Jingda University. Getting into a vocational college with over 600 points is simply jaw-dropping. Aunt Huang and the others rushed over the next day. The moment they saw Zhao Liang, they were instantly furious, especially since Su Shanshan was also at that school. Aunt Huang and the others chased after Zhao Liang, hitting him. Su Shanshan actually had the nerve to rush out and shield Zhao Liang, stubbornly declaring they were true love and she would be with him no matter what. In a Sudden fit of rage, Zhao Liang pinned Su Shanshan to the ground and beat her. Upon learning Su Shanshan was the mastermind, Aunt Huang couldn't hold back either. Mother and son together beat the young girl until she was bruised and swollen. Su Shanshan screamed, calling the police and taking photos for injury documentation. For the past 2 days, the entire Jingzhou College has been buzzing with Zhao Liang's heroic deeds. Sitting in my dorm room munching on melon seeds, I couldn't help but find it all rather amusing. The whole ordeal dragged on for a week, with Zhao Liang stubbornly refusing to stay and study here. In the end, he had no choice but to go back and repeat the year. By the time the news reached me, I was already in the middle of military training. After training ended, my dad called me about it, saying Aunt Huang blamed us for not warning them. My dad said over the phone, I knew they were unreasonable all along. Luckily, you kept the chat records. I shoved them right in her face on the spot and even got the neighbors to testify. Everyone scolded her so badly she couldn't even lift her head. What kind of person is that? Not caring about their own future and then blaming others. My dad was furious, but I just chuckled on my end. Don't bother with them, they're just a bunch of clowns. Your daughter has already started studying at Jing University now. In 4 years, I'll even go for a master's degree. I won't let you down. My dad's joy was palpable. Of course, my daughter is so outstanding. Not like her son, who's driven by his hormones. I heard the girl got pregnant and even went to his house demanding compensation. The girl's parents have been making a scene at their place, rolling on the ground and causing a fuss. These past couple of days, the stairway entrance we use to come and go has been blocked. It's really inconvenient. What a mess. To have neighbors like this. Hearing this, I was utterly shocked. I never expected them to go that far. I only knew they had booked a room together, but what I didn't know was that they hadn't even taken any safety precautions. Su Shanshan got pregnant in her first year of college, and even got beaten up, yet the baby still didn't miscarry. She was really tough. I couldn't help but admire it, but it had nothing to do with me anymore. How they handled things as a family was their business. When military training ended and the National Day holiday came around, I went home again, only to find a red double happiness character pasted on the door of the 3rd floor. My mom told me that Zhao Liang had been forced to marry Su Shanshan. Su Shanshan changed his college application choices, and the Zhao family demanded compensation. At the same time, Su Shanshan was pregnant, and the Su family also demanded compensation from them, or else they would accuse Zhao Liang of rape. In the end, both families came out of it badly, leaving only a lose-lose situation. They could only make the two of them get married and register it. But they didn't hold a wedding banquet, and the child still had to go to school. Su Shanshan got pregnant and had a child as soon as she entered school, which was also an incredibly shocking thing. Zhao Liang went to a repeat prep school instead. When the National Day holiday came, he came back, obviously much thinner, with deeply sunken eye sockets and a gaunt face. When he saw me, he opened his mouth and leaned in close, but before he could speak, tears fell first. Qin Shihan, am I terribly wrong? I gambled my own future as a joke, hoping you'd look back. I was wrong. I took a step back to create distance between us. Zhao Liang, if you know you're wrong, then correct it. I believe you can do it, but at the same time, I also believe that not everyone can succeed in repeating a year of study. For example, Zhao Liang, if it were just him alone, maybe, but now there's also Su Shanshan. One is in their hometown, the other is in a different city, not to mention Su Shanshan is pregnant and needs constant care. Zhao Liang looked at me, his eyes filled with remorse. Qin Shihan, I regret it. I'm sorry, it must have hurt you so much back then. Hearing that, my whole body trembled instantly. Zhao Liang, there are no regrets in this world. I've said it before, everyone must be responsible for their own actions. His face was full of guilt. I knew you were angry all along and never forgave me. Ever since I got together with Su Shanshan, you haven't spoken a second word to me. You warned me countless times. I was too arrogant. But Shu Han, how could you be so heartless? We had over a decade of friendship. You just threw me away without a second thought. Zhao Liang grew agitated, while I remained utterly calm. And what about you? When you killed me, did you ever think about the friendship between us? I stepped closer to him. When you pushed me off the building and forged medical records as evidence, did you ever think about my family? Zhao Liang, if you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You got Su Shanshan. Is getting into Peking University really that important anymore? Shock was written all over Zhao Liang's face. So you knew all along. You came back too. And that's why you deliberately didn't warn me. Qin Shuhan, you're so cruel. Could I be any more ruthless than you? Do you know what it feels like to fall from the 13th floor? Every bone shattered, everything. Before my eyes turning red, pain tearing my heart and lungs apart, my soul refused to disperse, lingering by my parents' side, watching them bury their child with white hair, watching them die in sorrow. I wish you were dead. I just won't remind you. You're the one who told me not to meddle in other people's business. Zhao Liang staggered back 2 steps, then suddenly burst into wild laughter. I was wrong. You can hit me, curse me, anything, I beg you. Can we try one more time? Go back to the day we filled out the college applications. Help me change it back, please. 9. He grabbed my hand, and only then did I notice the bulge in his pants pocket, shaped like a dagger. Instantly terrified, I shoved him away with all my strength and took off running. Zhao Liang chased after me. Qin Shuhan, if you just die one more time, we can go back to the past. If we go back, I can get into Peking University. I screamed for help as I ran, and by chance, I ran into a patrol officer. Help, he's trying to kill me. Without a word, the police officer pinned Zhao Liang to the ground and searched his pocket, pulling out the dagger. Instantly, Zhao Liang's eyes turned red again. He attempted murder in broad daylight, leaving the neighbors sighing in disbelief. They all said he couldn't get into Peking University and must have something wrong with his mind. Aunt Huang and the others hurried to the police station. When they saw me finishing my statement, Aunt Huang suddenly knelt down before me with a thud. Shuhan, please forgive him, he didn't mean it. I looked at Aunt Huang, but before I could say anything, my dad rushed over and started yelling at her. Your son didn't mean it, he planned this all along. Thank goodness there were patrol officers today, or my daughter would have been hacked to death by your son. If your family has issues, go get treatment, stop harming others, okay? Our daughter just started her freshman year of college, are you trying to ruin her life? My dad, my mom, and my grandparents who had rushed over, all 6 of them, roared at them in unison. Aunt Huang was utterly torn to shreds by their scolding. I suddenly realized how wonderful it feels to be protected by family. In my previous life, Aunt Huang had Zhao Liang declared mentally ill to help him avoid punishment. This time, I firmly demanded a psychiatric evaluation for Zhao Liang to confirm he has no mental issues. If he does, then he should spend the rest of his life in a mental hospital. If not, he should face the consequences and serve his time in prison as he deserves. Aunt Huang never expected me to be so ruthless. Shuhan, you two grew up together since childhood. I interrupted her. Aunt Huang, that's not how grew up together is meant to be used. We were just classmates and neighbors since we were kids. I can't control what he does, but don't forget Zhao Liang is a married man. Is it fair to Su Shanshan, to the Su family, or to the child in her womb for you to say such things to me now? My series of questions left her speechless. Meanwhile, the police quickly confirmed that Zhao Liang had undergone a psychiatric evaluation and was indeed declared insane. He kept ranting about being reborn and claiming that killing me would allow him to start over. In the end, it was determined that he had a mental illness. Although he avoided prison, I strongly insisted that he be sent to a psychiatric hospital for treatment. Aunt Huang and her family had no choice but to comply. The news that Zhao Liang had been admitted to a psychiatric hospital quickly reached Su Shanshan's ears. She had a miscarriage and returned to file for divorce. Su Shanshan said, I was originally willing to face hardship with him, but who knew his mental fortitude was so weak? Since that's the case, I can't let him hold me back. She divorced him and left without looking back. I sometimes really admire Su Shanshan. She truly is the type to act decisively and leave without hesitation. However, Su Shanshan didn't let Zhao Liang off the hook either. After all, getting married and divorced made her a divorcee, and having had an abortion, the gossip spread like wildfire in this small city. Coupled with the fact that Zhao Liang failed to get into Peking University and developed a mental illness, news that everyone in our small town knew, Su Shanshan couldn't stay any longer and had to leave for another city. But she blamed it all on Zhao Liang. Her gangster friends would frequently harass Aunt Huang and her family, either demanding money or sabotaging their work. 10. Aunt Huang and her family were endlessly harassed. In the end, they sold their house and compensated Su Shanshan with a sum of money, which finally settled the matter. However, Zhao Liang's life was essentially ruined. For years later, I was admitted to graduate school, and Zhao Liang was released. I saw him near Jingda University. My dad said he had gone missing right after getting out, and I didn't think much of it, but seeing his Figure, I still felt somewhat on guard. However, Zhao Liang didn't come looking for me. He just wandered around the vicinity of Jingda University, had a meal, and then left. I felt a great sense of relief. 2 days later, I received a message from an unknown number. I'm sorry, I knew it was from Zhao Liang, but I didn't reply. Instead, I blocked that number. A few more days passed, and I saw a news report. An out-of-town mentally ill person stabbed a hostess, resulting in 1 death and 1 injury. The one who died was Su Shanshan. She was stabbed over a dozen times by Zhao Liang and died on the spot. Zhao Liang stabbed her to death and tried to run, but the bouncers at the bar chased him all the way. In his panic, he climbed up to the 4th floor, fell, and ended up paralyzed from the waist down. How nice, he was still alive. Aunt Huang and the others brought Zhao Liang back home. Zhao Liang cried his eyes out and became a completely different person, lashing out and hitting people at the slightest provocation. The neighbors couldn't stand the noise from him and filed a joint complaint. On top of that, their house was now too small, and Zhao Liang ate, slept, and used the bathroom all at home, so the smell was absolutely unbearable. Aunt Huang and the others had no choice but to move again. The couple took Zhao Liang to live in their old house in the suburbs. It was said that Zhao Liang shouted and screamed in there every day, and the elderly couple looked a dozen years older. In the end, they couldn't take it anymore and ran away. By the time Zhao Liang was found, his corpse had already started to stink. By then, I had graduated from graduate school, signed a job contract, and taken my parents on a spontaneous trip. The future stretched out before me with a clear road ahead, and I would cherish every day of the present. The end. That's the end of the first story. Don't go away. The next story is even more exciting. Sign it, or I'll make sure you die in this hospital. On the hospital bed in the late stages of liver cancer, my husband threw the divorce papers in my face, with his glamorous white moonlight standing beside him. 25 years of marriage, and all I got from him was, if I'd known a country girl like you would only hold me back, I would never have given up my childhood sweetheart from the city. The stepdaughter I raised sneered, stop pretending, you wicked stepmother. In my moment of despair, I picked up a scalpel and took us both down together. When I opened my eyes again, my reborn husband shook off my hand. Let's break up. I'm a technical backbone of this factory, and you're not worthy of me. I wasn't angry at all. I merely let out a sardonic laugh. Without my father's factory, how did a middle school graduate like you become an engineer? The searing pain in my wrist yanked me back from the darkness into reality. Li Ming violently flung my hand away, with such force that I staggered. Let's break up, Lin Xiaoyu. I'm a technical backbone of this factory, and a bumpkin like you, who's never seen the world, will never be worthy. I couldn't keep my balance and fell straight to the ground. The dull pain from my knees hitting the concrete floor was nothing compared with the stabbing pain in my chest. Li Ming didn't even glance at me. He turned and strode out of the workshop, a cold, disgusted sneer curling his lips. Xiaoyan, his voice suddenly turned gentle, and he opened his arms as he ran toward the woman standing at the factory gate. That woman, who Xiaoyan, wore a triumphant smile on her flawless face as she threw herself into Li Ming's arms. Mingji, I knew you wouldn't let me down. How could a country girl like her ever be worthy of someone like you? Li Ming wrapped his arms around her slender waist and, in front of everyone, kissed her lips. I knelt on the ground, blood seeping through my torn pants, mixing with tears as they dripped onto the floor. My heart ached so fiercely I could barely breathe. Xiaoyu, Dad rushed out of the office. Seeing the scene, his face turned ashen. Li Ming, what is the meaning of this? Li Ming snorted coldly, pulling Hu Xiaoyan closer. Factory manager Lin, to be honest, if I'd known your daughter, this country girl, would only hold me back, I would never have given up my childhood sweetheart from the city. You, Dad trembled with rage, his finger shaking as he pointed at Li Ming. Don't be angry, father-in-law. Oh, I mean, ex-father-in-law. Li Ming grinned. Thanks to you promoting me to a key technical role, I'll be grateful to you for the rest of my life, but as for being your son-in-law, I'm done with that. I realized I had been reborn. I tried to push myself up from the ground with my hands, but my legs felt weak, and my whole body wouldn't stop trembling. Look at how pathetic you are. Li Ming turned his head and gave me a contemptuous glance. Country folk will always be country folk, no experience of the wider world. The factory workers gathered around, pointing and whispering among themselves. I heard she's been dating Li Ming for almost 2 years, now it's all over. She really overestimated herself, like a toad lusting after a swan's flesh. Sigh, who told her to be the factory director's daughter? Otherwise, would Li Ming have looked twice at her appearance? Without Director Lin, she wouldn't even have a single person who, would spare her a glance. Each word felt like a knife stabbing into my heart, my face burned with shame, and I wished I could find a crack to crawl into. Dad hurriedly helped me up, his arm was trembling, and his voice was low and furious. Li Ming, I'm giving you 3 days to clear out your dormitory, and don't bother coming to work anymore. Hu Xiaoyan immediately stepped forward. Director Lin, you can't do this. Brother Ming is a key technical expert at the factory, you can't just let personal matters. Shut up, Dad roared, you don't get a say here. But Li Ming calmly patted Hu Xiaoyan on the shoulder and reassured her, don't be afraid. Xiaoyan, he wouldn't dare fire me. In the factory those technical issues can't be handled without me. If he fires me, the whole plant will grind to a halt. After saying that, he wrapped his arm around Hu Xiaoyan smugly and strode off, leaving only Dad and me standing there, with the workers all around pointing and whispering. Dad helped me back to the office. I was trembling all over, not because of the pain in my knee, but because those sudden memories left me nearly suffocating. Xiaoyu, don't be afraid, Dad's here. Dad handed me a glass of water and looked at my pale face with concern. The cup in my hand trembled violently, and droplets of water splashed onto the back of my hand, icy cold and biting. 25 years of marriage flashed before my eyes like a slideshow. I had given Li Ming a child, only to die from a difficult childbirth. The hospital's fluorescent lights stabbed at my eyes. The nurse carried my child away, carried her away forever. There was no grief in Li Ming's eyes, only regret and a trace of relief I did not understand at the time. 3 months later, he brought back a baby and said it was a distant relative's child, that both parents had died, and asked me to help raise him. That child was Li Yu. With tears in my eyes, I raised her through every hardship, giving her all the motherly love I had. I took care of Li Ming's mother day and night, changing her diapers and cleaning up after her, until the moment the old woman closed her eyes, still holding my hand and saying, "Good daughter-in-law." I invested all the dividends from my father's factory into Li Ming's career, funding his education and advancement, all so he could rise to prominence. And yet, he actually had an affair with Hu Xiaoyan behind my back for over 20 years. That day, lying on the hospital bed in the late stages of liver cancer, with an 4 tube inserted into my withered hand, Li Ming pushed the door open, bringing Hu Xiaoyan and Li Yu in. Sign it, or I'll let you die right here. In the hospital, he threw the divorce papers in my face. The cold paper scraped my chapped lips. Mom, no, Auntie, stop pretending, you wicked stepmother. Li Yu sneered as she pulled out my oxygen tube. I struggled to breathe, but could only hear Hu Xiaoyan's voice. Xiaoyu, don't blame Yaya. After all, she's my own flesh and blood. Daughter, you are not biologically related to him. At that moment, I was utterly desperate. I grabbed the scalpel from the bedside table and, with all my strength, plunged it into his chest. Xiaoyu, Xiaoyu. My father's voice pulled me back from the terrifying memory. What's wrong with you? My tears had already soaked the front of my clothes. My fingernails dug deep into my palms, leaving 4 bloody marks. Dad, I'm fine. I wiped away my tears and took a deep breath. Don't worry, I won't have anything to do with Li Ming anymore. My father breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. I was worried you might forgive that scoundrel. Just then, the office door was pushed open, and Li Ming walked in, wearing an ingratiating smile. Father-in-law, I was just confused for a moment. Get out, Dad roared. Li Ming, however, walked right past Dad and came up to me, his voice suddenly turning contemptuous. Lin Xiaoyu, don't think hiding behind your dad will get you off the hook. You know what? I remember everything about the future. I know how you'll hold me back, how many opportunities you'll make me lose, so this time I absolutely will not let a jinx like you ruin my future. I raised my head and met his gaze. The fear in my heart had already turned into a cold, resolute determination. Li Ming, from this moment on, you and I are finished, completely. Acting all high and mighty. Without me, you'll spend your whole life as a factory girl, living forever in your dad's shadow. You uneducated country girl. Who else would want you besides me? Li Ming, you're fired. Come to the office tomorrow to handle the resignation procedures. Dad's voice was icy cold, devoid of any warmth. A flicker of panic flashed in Li Ming's eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Director Lin, don't be impulsive. That newly imported machine at the factory, no one knows how to operate it except me. Dad shook the phone in his hand. I just called the city's technical school. A new technician will arrive tomorrow to take over. There are plenty of talents 10 times better than you. Don't think you're so special. You, Li Ming's face turned ashen, pointing at me. He roared, Lin Xiaoyu, are you satisfied now? you've cost me my job." 3 days later, just after I returned from having lunch at the factory canteen, I saw Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan standing at my doorstep. "Xiaoyu, long time no see." Hu Xiaoyan wore a feigned smile at the corner of her mouth. I ignored her and walked straight toward my front door, but Hu Xiaoyan grabbed me by the arm. "Don't be so cold, we came specifically to see you." Her nails dug deep into my arm. "Brother Ming told me that both of you are reborn." "What a coincidence." I jerked my head up, unable to believe my ears. "What did you say?" Li Ming wrapped his arm around Hu Xiaoyan's waist and smiled smugly. "That's right, Xiaoyan and I both remember our past lives. We're destined to be together." "Xiaoyu, you're so pitiful." Hu Xiaoyan pretended to sympathize. "In your past life, you worked hard to take care of Brother Ming for 25 years, yet never won his heart. You're only a drag, and you can't even have a child properly. You're not even as good as the daughter I had with him. Do you know that Li Yu is actually my child? You've been raising an outsider for more than 20 years for nothing." She looked at me with disdain. "In this life, we've decided not to beat around the bush anymore." Li Ming took out an invitation from his pocket and shoved it into my hand. "This is the wedding invitation for Xiao Yan and me. It's next month, just in time for my promotion at the city machinery factory." "How about it?" "Jealous. I got into the city machinery factory on my own merits, not because of my father-in-law's promotion. The only thing you can do in this lifetime is be a pathetic loser in your dad's factory." I opened the invitation, and there it was, printed in bold, "Wedding invitation for Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan," along with a prominent line, "Special promotion news for the groom, head of the technical team at the city machinery factory." In an instant, memories from my past life flooded back. That spring, Li Ming had tried repeatedly to get into the city machinery factory but kept hitting walls. It was only after I begged my dad to call the factory's old director that Li Ming was able to secure a position there. 3 months later, I convinced my dad to use our family savings to donate an imported piece of equipment to the city machinery factory. In exchange, Li Ming was promoted to head of the technical team, and all of this, Li Ming never knew. He always believed it was his own abilities that had earned him recognition. "What?" "Jealous." Seeing me silent, Hu Xiaoyan grew even more smug. "Can't help it. Who made Ming and me the perfect match? You're destined to be a supporting character in this life. You're only fit to be a little factory girl in your dad's plant, or marry an ordinary worker and live an ordinary life." Li Ming said disdainfully. "You're not worthy of climbing up to people like us." Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan's wedding proceeded as scheduled. With 30 banquet tables set up at the city's largest restaurant, I changed into a brand new red dress, applied delicate makeup, and strode into the wedding venue in high heels. The entire hall fell silent instantly. All eyes focused on me, whispers rising and falling around the room. "Oh my god, Lin Xiaoyu is here. Has she no shame to this extent? Isn't this just asking for humiliation? Getting dumped by Li Ming and still coming to his wedding. You're really the epitome of pathetic." I heard Li Ming is now the technical team leader at the city machinery factory, with a bright future ahead. Lin Xiaoyu will never be able to reach his level in this lifetime. "Lin Xiaoyu, what are you doing here? Looking for trouble? Trying to ruin my wedding?" Hu Xiaoyan frowned, her voice sharp. "You shameless woman." I shrugged. What trouble could I possibly cause? Li Ming is now the technical team leader at the city machinery factory, with a bright future ahead. I wouldn't dare to offend him. Hearing this, a flicker of pride flashed in Li Ming's eyes. "Of course, not to boast, but that imported equipment at the city factory, no one else knows how to operate it except me. I'm the core of the core technical staff. The factory director thinks very highly of me. As soon as I got promoted, he gave me a 20,000 yuan bonus." He deliberately raised his voice. "This wedding is being paid for with that bonus money." The people around them gasped in amazement. 20,000 yuan was a huge sum in the late 1980s. "Is that so?" I smiled meaningfully. "And your promotion, was it really because of your outstanding ability?" Li Ming's expression changed slightly, but he quickly regained his composure. "Of course it was genuine skill, not like some people who can only rely on their father, without any real ability of their own. They can only hide behind their dad and be a good-for-nothing." Just then, a commotion arose at the entrance of the venue. My father walked in wearing a formal suit, holding a document folder. "Director Lin is here," someone whispered in surprise. Li Ming hurried forward to greet him. "You, Director Lin, it's such an honor that you could come." Dad ignored him and walked straight to my side. "Xiaoyu, I brought everything." I took the document folder and opened it in front of everyone. Inside was a stack of documents stamped with the official seal of the City Machinery Factory, Li Ming. Congratulations, I said with a smile, but I'm a bit curious, do you really know how you got into the City Machinery Factory? Li Ming's smile froze on his face, his eyes darting nervously. Of course it was based on my skills. I pulled out the first document from the folder. On it was clearly a letter of recommendation. Comrade Lin Jiqiang recommends Comrade Li Ming for entering the City Machinery Factory to work. This is, Li Ming's voice trembled slightly. This is the letter of recommendation my father wrote to the old factory director of the City Machinery Factory, I said softly. Without this letter, you wouldn't even have had the chance for an interview. A chance, Hu Xiaoyan hurriedly interjected. So what? Brother Ming was promoted to technical team leader entirely because of his genuine talent and solid learning. I pulled out a second document, an appointment letter. In view of Comrade Lin Jiqiang's special contributions to our factory, he is hereby appointed to recommend Comrade Li Ming as deputy leader of the technical team. Deputy leader. Li Ming was as if struck by lightning, but I was clearly team leader. Dad sneered, his voice dripping with sarcasm. You can't even read the operation manual for that machine, and you, team leader, you didn't even finish junior high. You only got into technical school because our family tutored you. What real skills do you have? That's because, Li Ming stammered, sweat beading on his forehead. Because I had the translator put the manual into Chinese for you. Dad cut him off. Otherwise, you wouldn't even know how to turn it on. The room fell silent. Everyone stared in shock at the scene unfolding. Li Ming's colleagues exchanged glances. Someone whispered, no wonder he was always so secretive. Turns out he got the job through connections. No, it's not like that, Li Ming protested, sweating profusely in his panic. I do have real skills. Dad pulled a telegram from his pocket. This just came from the City Machinery plant. They're revoking your position because you was inherently incapable of operating that piece of equipment. What? Li Ming snatched the telegram away at once. After reading it, his face turned as white as paper. Impossible. You clearly what? I sneered. Clearly a middle school graduate and an ordinary worker, not even able to grasp the basic technical principles, and you still dare call yourself a technical backbone. Li Ming's legs went weak, and he collapsed to the floor on his knees, his eyes full of disbelief. No, impossible. I clearly remember I was the head of the technical team, Dad said coldly. You were just an ordinary worker I promoted. You don't even count as a technician. That imported piece of equipment was my daughter's dowry. It was originally meant for you and your wife to use. As for now, Dad looked at Hu Xiaoyan. Looks like it was given to the wrong person. Hu Xiaoyan's face turned deathly pale as she hurriedly grabbed Li Ming's hand. Brother Ming, don't listen to their nonsense. You're clearly very capable. I walked up to Li Ming, crouched down, and said softly, Li Ming, without my father's factory, how could a junior high school graduate like you become an engineer? Did you think you could change your fate just by being reborn? But you forgot. Without me and my father's help, you are nothing. Li Ming's gaze gradually grew unfocused as he muttered to himself. Impossible. I clearly remember. I was a key technical expert. I have the skills. You remember wrong, I sneered, or rather, you only remember the parts you want to remember. In your previous life, the only reason you could become an engineer was because of my silent support behind the scenes. Yet, you and Hu Xiaoyan betrayed me for 25 years. In this life, without my help, you will forever remain just an ordinary worker, not even a technician. Li Ming felt as if struck by lightning. His whole body went limp and collapsed to the ground, the light in his eyes instantly vanishing. Hu Xiaoyan watched this scene, her face turning extremely ugly. You lied to me. You said you were a technical team leader, that you had a bright future ahead. I didn't lie. Li Ming feebly defended himself. I really remember. Enough, Hu Xiaoyan shrieked. I won't marry a useless man who can't even keep his job. She tore the red flower from her head and threw it hard in Li Ming's face. The wedding is cancelled. I want to break off the engagement. Li Ming looked at Hu Xiaoyan in despair. Xiaoyan, didn't you say we were a match made in heaven? A match made in heaven, Hu Xiaoyan sneered. That was when I thought you had potential. Now it seems you're not even as good as an ordinary worker. Not even as good as an ordinary worker. I, Hu Xiaoyan, am a city girl. How could I possibly marry a hopeless country boy like you? Li Ming felt as if struck by lightning. His whole body went limp and collapsed to the ground, the light in his eyes instantly vanishing. I stood up, looking down at them from above. What a pity, your match made in heaven has come to an end just like that, Li Ming. Didn't you say I was only fit to be a factory girl? I said with a smile. Then guess, who is the one now who? The one who could only be an ordinary worker. Li Ming raised his head, his eyes filled with despair and resentment. Lin Xiaoyu, you knew all along. Of course I knew, I said calmly. I knew that without my father's help, you were nothing. I knew that without my sacrifice, you would forever remain just an ordinary worker with a junior high school education. I knew that you and Hu Xiaoyan betrayed me for 25 years. I knew that Li Yu is your biological daughter. I knew how the three of you forced me to sign the divorce papers on my deathbed with late-stage liver cancer. I knew everything, so this time, I chose to let you taste the bitterness of being abandoned. Li Ming's face turned as pale as paper, his lips trembling, unable to utter a word. Hu Xiaoyan could no longer care about any of that. She grabbed her bag and ran. I don't know any of you. This was all Li Ming who tricked me. The wedding venue was in complete chaos. The guests stood up one after another and left, leaving only Li Ming kneeling there alone, like an abandoned rag doll. Dad patted me on the shoulder. Xiaoyu, let's go. I nodded and turned to leave, not looking at Li Ming again. After walking out of the wedding venue, under the bright sunshine and with a gentle breeze brushing my face, I took a deep breath and felt completely relieved. 3 days after the wedding uproar, Li Ming received an official notice of dismissal from the city machinery factory. He clutched the thin piece of paper, feeling as if the world were spinning around him. I really got fired, Li Ming muttered, his eyes vacant at the same time. Hu Xiaoyan was packing her luggage. Li Ming, you're just a loser, she said with a cold laugh. I'm going to find a real man with actual ability, not a fraud like you who relies on connections. Li Ming knelt on the ground and pleaded. Xiaoyan, don't go. Didn't we agree to be reborn together? Hu Xiaoyan let out a sneer. Rebirth, you think you can turn things around like this? Keep dreaming. After saying that, she left without looking back, and I officially took over the technical department of my father's factory. Drawing on my past life's experience and years of study, I quickly demonstrated remarkable talent in the factory. Xiaoyu, you're amazing, my colleagues exclaimed in admiration. You can solve these complex technical problems with such ease. I smiled without a word, secretly grateful in my heart for having seized this chance at rebirth. Meanwhile, Li Ming began searching everywhere for a job, only to face rejection at every turn. I'm sorry, we don't need someone without practical experience. Your resume looks suspicious. We can't hire you. No academic credentials. That's truly regrettable. In the end, Li Ming could only work as a temporary laborer on a construction site, earning a meager daily wage and eating the poorest food. At that very moment, Li Ming's mother came to my door and lashed out at me. Lin Xiaoyu, you vicious woman, you got my son fired from his job. Do you even have a conscience? I looked at her coldly. Auntie, are you sure you want to talk to me about conscience? Why you? What do you mean? Li Ming's mother was startled by my gaze. I took a deep breath and said slowly. Before Li Ming was reborn, how did he treat you? Do you remember? Li Ming's mother froze. Reborn? What nonsense are you talking about? You developed cirrhosis and were bedridden. As for Li Ming, he left you all alone in a nursing home and didn't even come back to see you during the new year. I said each word carefully. In the end, you passed away alone, with no one even there to send you off. Mother Li's face turned deathly pale. No. Impossible. Did you really think Li Ming loved you? I sneered. He can't wait for you to die sooner so he can inherit your house. Mother Li trembled all over, her eyes filled with disbelief. Xiaoyu, you, how could you know these things? Because in that future, it was me who took care of you all along, I said softly, until the moment you closed your eyes. The one holding your hand was me, not Li Ming. Mother Li instantly burst into tears, collapsing to the ground. My son. How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch? I helped Mother Li up and comforted her gently. Auntie, what's past is past. In this life, we both have a chance to start over. Mother Li tightly grasped my hand, choking back sobs as she said, Xiaoyu, I'm sorry, I wronged you. I smiled slightly. It's okay, Auntie, you must remember, Li Ming is not a good person. In the future, if you have any difficulties, feel free to come to me. Watching Li's mother's receding, faltering figure, a mix of emotions churned within me. Having been reborn into this life, what has changed is not just my own fate. Half a year later, our factory introduced a revolutionary new technology, increasing production efficiency by nearly threefold, instantly making us the benchmark in the industry. Director Lin, you're amazing. exclaimed the colleagues from the technical department excitedly. This technology will keep us ahead of our competitors for at least 5 years, I smiled and said. This is the result of everyone's collective effort. However, we still need to be careful and keep it confidential. After all, this technology didn't come easily. However, the ambitious Li Ming did not give up. Through some former colleagues, he began to pry into the secrets of our factory. Old Wang, I heard your factory has been doing pretty well lately, Li Ming asked casually, pretending, any new technology? Old Wang looked at him warily. Li Ming, what are you asking that for? Li Ming gave an awkward smile. Nothing, I'm just curious. After all these years of friendship, you still don't trust me. I had long anticipated that Li Ming would pull a stunt like this, so I set a trap in advance. I had Old Wang deliberately reveal some confidential information, but in fact it was carefully designed fake intelligence. Sure enough, Li Ming took the bait. Under cover of night, he sneaked into the factory, intent on stealing technical documents. Just as he triumphantly got hold of the confidential file, the security guards suddenly rushed out from all directions. Li Ming, you are under arrest, the security captain shouted sternly. You are suspected of stealing commercial secrets. Li Ming's face turned pale, his legs went weak. No, that's not it. At that moment, Hu Xiaoyan somehow got wind of the news and unexpectedly appeared at the factory gate. Ha ha ha, she laughed shrilly. Li Ming, you're such a loser. You can't even steal something without getting caught. Li Ming looked at Hu Xiaoyan in despair. Xiaoyan, how could you? Hu Xiaoyan sneered. I came to see you make a fool of yourself. You think you can make a comeback? Dream on. Just as everyone thought Li Ming was about to be sent to prison, I suddenly spoke up. Wait, I don't intend to pursue Li Ming's responsibility. The entire room erupted in an uproar. I walked up to Li Ming, looking down at him from above. Li Ming, do you know what you stole? Li Ming shook his head in confusion. I opened the folder, revealing a pile of scrap paper and blank sheets inside. This is the confidential information you went to such lengths to steal. I sneered. I knew you would come to steal it, so it was specially prepared for you. Li Ming collapsed instantly, dropping to his knees and crying his eyes out. Lin Xiaoyu, you're too ruthless. I crouched down and met his eyes at the same level. Li Ming, let me teach you a lesson. People have to earn their living with real skills. If you rely on stealing and cheating, in the end, you'll have nothing at all. This time, I won't hold you accountable, but I hope you remember this lesson. I stood up. Get lost, and don't let me see you again. Li Ming stumbled away, leaving behind a crowd of stunned onlookers and an exasperated Hu Xiaoyan. I turned to the employees and said, everyone, this incident shows us how important technical confidentiality is. From now on, everyone must stay vigilant and protect the fruits of our labor. Seeing the admiration in everyone's eyes, I secretly vowed to myself, in this life, I must live a different and splendid life. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Under my leadership, our factory has grown into a leading enterprise in the region. General Manager Lin, congratulations on our company winning the Enterprise of the Year award again, Vice President Zhang Ming said excitedly. I smiled and said, this is the result of the collective efforts of all our employees. We must continue to strive for even greater achievements. Just then, a handsome man walked in. His name was Qin Yuan, the president of a well-known investment firm. General Manager Lin, I've long heard of your reputation. Qin Yuan extended his hand, a sincere gleam in his eyes. I truly admire your talent and courage. We talked happily and gradually developed feelings of admiration for each other. However, fate is always full of drama. On the other side of the city, Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan met again. Both had fallen on hard times, and when they saw each other, a flicker of venom flashed in their eyes. It's all Lin Xiaoyu's fault, Li Ming said through gritted teeth. Hu Xiaoyan sneered. You're only realizing that now, but I have an idea. They decided to join forces against me, attempting to destroy my career and relationship through underhanded means. Hu Xiaoyan pretended to repent and actively approached Qin Yuan. Mr. Chen, I'm an old friend of Lin Xiaoyu's, she said with feigned warmth. There are some things I'd like to discuss with you. I had long anticipated they would make a move, so I set a trap. At the company annual meeting, I deliberately announced publicly, everyone, I want to especially thank one person, my fiancé, Qin Yuan. He has provided many valuable suggestions for our company. Upon hearing this, Hu Xiaoyan was overjoyed and immediately ran to Qin Yuan's side, trying to cozy up to him. Just then, Li Ming suddenly rushed out from the crowd. Lin Xiaoyu, don't get too cocky. I've already obtained your company's confidential information. I'm going to ruin your reputation." The entire room erupted in an uproar. I sneered, "Oh really? Then why don't you show it to us?" Li Ming triumphantly opened the folder, only to find it filled with blank sheets of paper. He was instantly dumbfounded. "Everyone," I said loudly, "this is evidence that someone attempted to steal my company's secrets." "Li Ming, Hu Xiaoyan, what do you have to say for yourselves?" The security guards immediately stepped forward and apprehended the two. Hu Xiaoyan screamed in defense, "It wasn't me, it was all Li Ming's doing." Li Ming roared, "Hu Xiaoyan, you liar, it was clearly your idea." Watching the two of them make fools of themselves, the entire room burst into laughter. At that moment, Qin Yuan suddenly knelt on one knee and took out a diamond ring. "Xiaoyu, your wisdom and courage have captivated me. Will you marry me?" I looked at him in surprise. You knew about my plan all along." Qin Yuan smiled and said, "We're so in sync. How could I not see it? I understand every move you make." Amidst the cheers of the crowd, I nodded in agreement, tears welling up in my eyes watching Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan being dragged away by security in such a sorry state. I finally felt a sense of relief in my heart. This time, I chose someone truly worthy of my trust, not that Li Ming who only knew how to betray me. My wedding with Chen Yuan was held at the most luxurious hotel in the city, with a sea of guests and a grand scene. Congratulations, President Lin, wishing you and President Chen a lifetime of happiness. The employees sincerely blessed us. Wearing a pure white wedding dress, I nestled happily beside Qin Yuan, my heart filled with sweetness. In this moment, I finally possessed the happiness I had never obtained in my previous life. However, in a corner of the wedding venue, Li Ming and Hu Xiaoyan were secretly watching. "Look at her smug expression," Li Ming said through gritted teeth. "One day, I'll make her taste the bitterness of pain." Hu Xiaoyan sneered coldly, "Don't rush. Opportunities will come." 1 year into the marriage, my career was thriving, and my married life was blissful. However, one afternoon, I suddenly received a photo showing Qin Yuan and his secretary, Xiao Zhang, having an intimate conversation in a cafe. The scene, my heart sank heavily. Could it be that history was about to repeat itself? In the following days, I discovered that Qin Yuan was indeed behaving strangely, often spending time alone with Xiao Zhang, and even returning home late at night on several occasions. "Qin Yuan, what's been going on with you lately?" I tentatively asked. Qin Yuan was visibly nervous. "Nothing, just busy with work." My suspicions grew heavier. Meanwhile, after learning this news, Li Ming began spreading rumors everywhere. "Have you heard? Lin Xiaoyu's husband cheated on her. She deserves it. Who told her to treat me like that back then? Looks like her good days are over." Faced with the swirling gossip, I didn't panic. Instead, I calmly began my investigation. After some discreet observation, I discovered Xiao Zhang often met with a familiar figure. It was actually Hu Xiaoyan. So that's how it is. I suddenly realized, it's a trap. I immediately found Qin Yuan and told him about my discovery. To my surprise, Qin Yuan wasn't shocked. Instead, he breathed a sigh of relief. "Xiaoyu, I was just about to tell you about this." It turned out that Qin Yuan had long discovered there was a mole in the company, and Xiao Zhang was the undercover agent he had arranged to lure out the mastermind behind it all. They pretended to be close just to make the real mole let their guard down. "I didn't want you to worry, so I didn't tell you in advance," Qin Yuan said guiltily. "I never expected it was actually Hu Xiaoyan causing trouble behind the scenes." I tightly grasped Qin Yuan's hand. "Let's solve this problem together." We set a trap, pretending our marital relationship was strained, to lure Hu Xiaoyan and Xiao Zhang into showing themselves. At a company dinner, Hu Xiaoyan couldn't hold back and publicly provoked me. "Lin Xiaoyu, I heard your husband is having an affair. How pitiful." I pretended to lower my head in pain, while Qin Yuan deliberately stormed off in anger. Just as Hu Xiaoyan was looking triumphant, I suddenly raised my head and sneered, "Hu Xiaoyan, the game is over." Security brought Xiao Zhang in, who was holding a recording. "Hu Xiaoyan, the evidence of you instructing me to get close to Mr. Chen and sabotage their marriage is all here." Hu Xiaoyan's face turned pale. You betrayed me," Xiao Zhang sneered. "From the very beginning, I was Mr. Chen's man. You're just too stupid to realize it." Qin Yuan walked over to my side and gripped my hand tightly. "Xiaoyu, I'm sorry, I made you worry." I smiled and shook my head. "I believe in you. I always have." Watching Hu Xiaoyan being taken away by the security guards in such a sorry state, Qin Yuan and I exchanged a smile. This crisis not only failed to destroy our marriage, but instead made our relationship even stronger. After Hu Xiaoyan's scheme was exposed, Li Ming did not give up there. By using a forged resume and technical certificates, he successfully landed a job as the technical consultant for our biggest rival, Honda Machinery. Mr. Lin, this is bad. Zhang Ming rushed into my office in a panic. Honda Machinery poached 3 of our key clients. In the days that followed, our company suffered blow after blow. Orders were snatched away, equipment broke down, raw material supplies were interrupted. A series of problems came one after another. This is no coincidence, Qin Yuan said with a frown. Someone is definitely stirring things up behind the scenes. Sure enough, not long after, Li Ming appeared in a media interview, speaking as a technical consultant for Honda Machinery. Our Honda Machinery is about to launch a revolutionary new product, Li Ming said smugly, and it will definitely make certain companies that rely on family backgrounds taste what failure feels like. That blatant provocation ignited anger in my heart, but I didn't act impulsively. Xiaoyu, don't be angry, Qin Yuan comforted me. He's trying to provoke you and make you lose your composure. I calmed down and began investigating Li Ming's background. Soon, I discovered a crucial clue. Li Ming did not possess any of the technical qualifications or work experience he claimed to have. They were all fabricated. These were his weaknesses. I said to Qin Yuan, but we shouldn't rush to expose him. We need to wait for the perfect moment. I started secretly gathering evidence. Li Ming's forged certificates, falsified work history, plagiarized technical proposals. I meticulously documented everything. Meanwhile, our company quietly adjusted its strategy to counter Honda Machinery's malicious competition. Finally, the annual industry exhibition arrived. This was the most important event in the industry, attended by all key clients and media. On the day of the exhibition, Li Ming stood in front of Honda Machinery's booth, introducing their upcoming revolutionary new product. This technology was entirely developed by me independently, Li Ming said arrogantly. It will completely change the landscape of the entire industry. Just then, I stepped forward, holding a stack of documents. Li Ming, are you sure this technology was independently developed by you? Li Ming's face changed. Of course, are you questioning me? I sneered and turned to everyone present. Everyone, I want to expose a fraud. I began presenting evidence one by one. Li Ming's forged academic certificates, plagiarized technical proposals, false work experience. This is the technical consultant that your Honda Machinery is so proud of, I said sarcastically. Someone who doesn't even understand the basic technical principles, unclear swindler. Li Ming's face turned deathly pale as he stammered in defense. You're talking nonsense. These are all fake. I produced the final trump card, a technical proposal personally signed by Li Ming, riddled with elementary mistakes. Even a beginner wouldn't make these errors, I said coldly. Li Ming, the game is over. The clients and media present erupted in an uproar. The person in charge of Honda Machinery turned livid with rage and immediately announced the termination of their cooperation with Li Ming relationship. Li Ming completely broke down, kneeling on the ground and weeping bitterly. Lin Xiaoyu, why are you doing this to me? I looked down at him from above. You brought this upon yourself, Li Ming. You'll never learn to earn your keep through genuine skill. After the exhibition incident, Li Ming's nightmare had only just begun. Honda Machinery sued him for fraud, demanding massive compensation. Li Ming is suspected of fraud and has been taken away by the police for investigation, the news anchor said gravely. If convicted, he could face up to 7 years in prison. Upon learning the news, Hu Xiaoyan immediately distanced herself from Li Ming. She married a nouveau riche, thinking she had found a pillar of support, but she didn't know this man merely saw her as a servant in the house. Hu Xiaoyan, mop the floor clean, her husband ordered harshly. Also, my friends are coming tonight, you better serve them well. Hu Xiaoyan knelt on the floor, wiping it with tears in her eyes, remembering her former pride and ambition. She couldn't help but smile bitterly. This was the price she paid for choosing betrayal. There were consequences for some people. Meanwhile, my company shot to prominence after that expo, and orders poured in. 3 years later, we had become a nationally renowned machinery manufacturing enterprise and won a National Science and Technology Progress Award. Mr. Lin, congratulations. At the awards ceremony, the leader warmly shook my hand. Your company has made outstanding contributions to China's machinery manufacturing industry. I smiled as I took the trophy, my heart full of pride. All of this was earned through my real ability and relentless hard work. Meanwhile, Qin Yuan and I also enjoyed a happy and fulfilling family life. I became pregnant and gave birth to a pair of adorable twins. And our whole family was full of joy. Rong, Xiaoyu, you've worked hard, Qin Yuan said gently, holding me. Having a wife and mother like you is the greatest blessing for me and the children. Happiness. I leaned on his shoulder, my heart full of gratitude. Thank you for always supporting me, Qin Yuan. With you by my side, I was able to come this far. One day, 5 years later, I was taking the children for a walk in the park when I suddenly saw a ragged homeless man crouching in a corner. The man looked up, and I was surprised to find it was actually Li Ming. He recognized me too, and a complex mix of emotions flashed in his eyes: surprise, shame, resentment, regret. Lin Xiaoyu, he rasped out, you're doing well. I looked at him calmly. Li Ming, you're out of prison. He let out a bitter laugh. I got out 3 years ago, but no one wants to hire someone like me. Looking at his haggard face, I felt no trace of the anger I once had, only a sliver of pity. Dad, who is this uncle? My son asked curiously. Qin Yuan held the child's hand. It's nothing, just an old acquaintance of your mother's. Li Ming looked at my happy family, his eyes filled with regret. Xiaoyu, if back then I cut him off. Li Ming, what's past is past. I don't hate you anymore, but I won't forgive you either. I took a few hundred yuan from my wallet and handed it to him. Take this, find a job, and start over. Li Ming took the money with trembling hands, tears streaming down his face. Thank you. I turned and left, holding my child and my husband's hands, walking toward a bright future. Behind me was Li Ming's kneeling figure on the ground, and the lifelong remorse and regret that would haunt him forever in this life. I was no longer the Lin Xiaoyu who had been deceived and abandoned. I had taken control of my own destiny and gained true happiness. As for Li Ming, he would forever live with the bitter consequences of his own actions, unable to recover. That is the best karma of all. Story 2. After receiving the provoking message from Lin Yu, I discovered that my boyfriend, Chen Shujin, had been keeping a mistress outside. Lin Yu boasted that she was his true love, and I was merely a dispensable substitute. She haughtily warned me, be sensible and scram, otherwise, I'll make Shujin demand back all the money he spent on you over the years. I looked at the custom-made wristwatch priced at tens of millions in the display cabinet, and a cold sneer curled up on my lips. The butler understood and bowed slightly. Miss, don't worry, I'll arrange to freeze all of Chen Shujin's accounts immediately. Suddenly, a strange friend verification message lit up on my phone screen, making me frown slightly. This account was specifically for contacting Chen Shujin, and there were no other contacts except him. The butler gently reminded me beside me, Miss, it seems to be a harassing account, shall I block it for you? But some premonition told me that this message was related to Chen Shujin. After thinking for a moment, I clicked to accept. The other party immediately sent a voice call invitation. I hesitated for a moment and then pressed the answer button. Who are you? A woman's triumphant voice came from the other end of the phone. My name is Lin Yu. I'm the woman Shujin truly loves. This sentence hit me like a sledgehammer, leaving me speechless for a moment. A triumphant chuckle came from the other end of the phone. Judging by your reaction, I'm right. Listen up. In Shujin's heart, you're nothing more than a plaything, while I'm his true love. True love. My voice was filled with a bone-chilling coldness. Lin Yu became more and more complacent as she spoke, her tone full of contempt. You know what? Every time Shujin is with me, he says he hates women like you who only have money in their eyes. He says only I understand his heart, and only I can give him true love. Seeing my gloomy face, the butler involuntarily took a step back. Lin Yu went even further and sent a video. In the video, Chen Shujin and she were engaged in intense physical activity. When the passion reached its peak, Chen Shujin said affectionately, Yuan Yue, I only love you in this life. We've been in love for over a year and are about to get engaged. Stop daydreaming. I'm the one he cares about the most. I advise you to back off quickly, otherwise I'll make him stop your credit card right now. I was enraged by her arrogance and smashed my phone heavily onto the ground. The delicate phone instantly broke into pieces. The saleslady at the counter said timidly, Miss Su, do you still want this limited edition wristwatch to be wrapped for you? I glanced at the custom-made wristwatch worth tens of millions, sneered coldly, and turned to leave. The butler gave the salesperson a look, and the latter had to regretfully put the wristwatch back into the safe. I walked out of the store with a sullen face and let out a deep breath. The butler respectfully said in a low voice, Miss, please rest assured, I'll arrange to freeze all of Chen Shujin's bank accounts right away. looking out of the car window at the backs of two students in school uniforms, laughing and playing. My thoughts couldn't help but drift back to the past. I remember that in high school, Chen Shujin and I got along sweetly like that. At that time, my family was well off, while his family was ordinary. We secretly fell in love until my parents found out. My parents gave him a sum of money and asked him to leave my life. He said he didn't want to hold back my future and took the initiative to break up. Disheartened, I chose to go abroad for further study. Now that I've returned after completing my studies, I took over the family business and became a capable female CEO. After returning to the country, I immediately asked the butler to help me find out about Chen Shujin's news. Learning that Chen Shujin's family had encountered difficulties, to avoid putting psychological pressure on him, I recruited him into the company as my subordinate. I asked him to accompany me to some social occasions every month and gave him a living expense of 500,000 yuan. Gradually, the relationship between Chen Shujin and me became closer. And we even started living together. 3 months ago, when I found out I was pregnant, my heart was filled with joy. I thought it was time to take the next step and secretly decided to propose marriage on his birthday and give him an official status. Butler Zhao, don't stop Chen Shujin's credit card for now. Maybe Lin Yu is trying to stir up trouble. Butler Zhao caught a glimpse of my gloomy expression through the rear view mirror and silently nodded. When we got back to the villa, I heard the sound of a spatula in the kitchen. Looking towards the kitchen, I saw Chen Shujin concentrating on cooking. Hearing the movement at the entrance, Chen Shujin turned his head while stir-frying and said enthusiastically, "Xiaoqing, you're back. Wait a moment, I'm making your favorite sweet and sour spare ribs. I've improved the recipe this time. I'm sure you'll be satisfied. Do you want to eat it with rice or steamed buns?" I stared at Chen Shujin, who was cooking seriously, and couldn't match him with the image described by Lin Yu at all. Seeing that I didn't respond for a long time, Chen Shujin turned to look at me. Usually, I would rush to his side to show concern, but today I kept an abnormal distance. Chen Shujin quickly wiped his hands, walked over quickly, and probed my body temperature. "Xiaoqing, are you feeling unwell? Why are you so abnormal today?" Suddenly, Lin Yu's words echoed in my ears. "Shujin and I have been in love for over a year, and now I'm pregnant with his child." I involuntarily took a step back and placed my hand on my abdomen. "Our baby, do you want it?" Chen Shujin was slightly startled, and then a flustered look appeared on his face. "Xiaoqing, what are you talking about? Of course, I want our child." Before he could finish speaking, I gently withdrew my hand and rubbed my temples. "I feel a bit tired and want to lie down in the bedroom for a while." "Don't overwork yourself either. Take care of your body." Just as I was about to leave, Chen Shujin grabbed my arm again, his tone tentative. "Xiaoqing, I heard there's a talent show in Shanghai next week. Your company is the main investor. Can you get me some inner court tickets?" My head was pounding, and I replied perfunctorily, "Probably. I don't really care about this kind of event. I'll ask Butler Zhao to decline it." "Why do you ask suddenly?" Chen Shujin's eyes flickered, and his voice deliberately softened. "Xiaoqing, please help me. My friend wants to watch it. And I promised him. I even boasted that I'm a judge of this show. You won't make me lose face, right? Besides, I can also broaden my horizons. Having the identity of a judge will make me more worthy of you." Facing Chen Shujin's expectant gaze, I couldn't bring myself to say no and had to promise to arrange it for him. After getting the promise, a smile bloomed on Chen Shujin's face, and he let go of my hand. "Then you go and rest quickly." Xiaoqing, just as I lay on the bed, about to take a short nap, a message from Butler Zhao woke me up instantly. "Miss, the investigation into Lin Yu has results. She is one of the contestants in the talent show in Shanghai next week and has already passed the preliminary selection." Remembering what Chen Shujin said just now, I couldn't help but feel ironic. So, in his eyes, I'm not only an ATM but also someone who can pave the way for his lover. The butler sent another message. "Miss, do you need me to tell the organizer to do something?" Chen Shujin's expectant expression appeared in my mind again, and I stared at the phone screen, lost in thought. "No need. Arrange for Chen Shujin to go to Shanghai as a judge next week. I want to see what he's capable of." After sending the message, the headache became more intense, and I unconsciously fell asleep. When I woke up again, it was already late at night. I habitually reached for the place where Chen Shujin usually slept beside me, but my hand touched nothing. Rubbing my sleepy eyes, I fumbled to turn on the bedside lamp. I was the only one left in the huge bedroom. "Shujin." I tentatively walked out of the room and called out, Only the echo was wandering in the empty villa. Where could Chen Shujin be at 2 o'clock in the morning? My intuition told me that it was all related to Lin Yu. Sure enough, as soon as I turned on my phone, I saw 2 new Moments posts from Lin Yu. In the first Moments post, Lin Yu's delicate face came into view. She was holding a bouquet of roses in her arms, smiling sweetly at the exquisite birthday cake. The caption read, "Thank you, dear, for coming to accompany me on my birthday. I even received a pleasant surprise. I'm simply the happiest woman in the world." And in the second post, Lin Yu was hinting at me. He promised that even if I wanted the moon in the sky, he would pick it for me. In the Moments post, Lin Yu was wearing a moon-shaped necklace. In the background of the photo, the silhouette of Chen Shujin lying naked on the bed was faintly visible. Although only his silhouette could be seen, I recognized him at a glance from the familiar outline. A bitter smile tugged at the corner of my mouth. I knew exactly where this necklace came from. It was a couple's necklace custom made by an internationally renowned designer on Valentine's Day this year. The pendant I gave to Chen Shujin was a sun, and the moon-shaped necklace was supposed to be paired with it and worn around my neck, but recently, I wasn't feeling well, so I put it back in the dresser. Unexpectedly, now the moon-shaped necklace was in Lin Yu's hands. It was a symbol of eternal vow. The empty jewelry box silently mocked my naivete, as if my heart had been emptied. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit me, and I slumped on the carpet. My silk nightgown was soaked with cold sweat. Using my last bit of strength, I dialed Chen Shujin's number. After the phone was connected, Lin Yu's arrogant voice came through. "Can't sit still after seeing the Moments post, right? Unfortunately, Shujin doesn't have time to deal with someone like you now." In the distance, Chen Shujin's lazy voice came. "Yuanyue, who's on the phone?" Lin Yu raised her voice and replied, "It's nothing important, you can rest at ease." The phone was hung up, leaving a series of busy tones. I clutched the carpet tightly, barely supporting my body, and in a daze, I dialed Butler Zhao's number. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the VIP ward of the hospital. Butler Zhao was pacing anxiously in the ward. He was slightly relieved when he saw me wake up. "Miss, you really scared me. When I received the call and rushed over, I saw you fainted on the ground. The doctor said you were overworked and emotionally stimulated, resulting in acute fever. You must be watched 24 hours a day. I've always advised you that you can completely leave the company affairs to your subordinates." Butler Zhao kept chattering. I looked around the ward, but the familiar figure was nowhere to be seen. "Where's Shujin?" The chattering Butler Zhao suddenly fell silent and answered hesitantly, "He has already left for Shanghai." I frowned tightly, a sense of displeasure welling up in my heart. With Lin Yu, Butler Zhao glanced at the data on the monitor, and after confirming that I was in a stable state, he answered in a low voice, "Mr. Chen swiped your gold card this morning and bought tickets for Miss Lin as well. He set off first to avoid suspicion, and Miss Lin will leave tomorrow." At this moment, I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. I had shown that I wasn't feeling well last night, yet Chen Shujin still chose to leave heartlessly. Perhaps in his heart, I was nothing more than a machine that could dispense cash at any time. Even more ironically, this ATM had to pay for his new love. I let out a cold laugh and motioned for Butler Zhao to leave. "You can go back first. I want to be alone." Although worried, Butler Zhao nodded in agreement, gave a few instructions to the nurse outside the door, and then left. The effect of the antipyretic injection gradually took hold, and I felt drowsy. Just then, the hospital bed was suddenly kicked hard. I woke up with a start, and the needle on the back of my hand was pulled, causing blood to flow. "Do you think you're still the high and mighty young miss from before?" Lin Yu's sarcasm woke me up instantly. Looking up, I saw Lin Yu standing with her arms crossed, pointing at me haughtily. Behind her stood a middle-aged couple. Their faces seemed somewhat familiar. After thinking for a moment, I recognized them as Chen Shujin's parents, but time seemed to have left too many marks on their faces. "Uncle, Aunt, why are you here?" Before I could finish speaking, Aunt Chen slapped me hard across the face. I looked at them in disbelief. "Shujin has told us everything. In high school, your family looked down on him, and you also despised him, saying he wasn't worthy of your status and that it was just a fling. Now that your family has gone bankrupt, you want to come back to him. Do you think we'll agree?" "My family went bankrupt, but the company has been developing steadily." Could these lies all be fabricated by Chen Shujin? This slap woke me up and shattered the illusions of the past. The nurse outside the door was about to rush in to stop it, but I signaled her to stop. I stroked my burning cheek and asked, suppressing my anger, I heard from Shu Jin that you two have been in poor health these years, Auntie, you really have a lot of strength in that slap. Uncle Chen sat down on the chair with an air of complacency. That's because our Shu Jin is promising. He earns money to treat our illnesses. And now we're almost fully recovered. Then he pointed at Lin Yu and showed off. Our Xiaolin is about to become a rising star in the entertainment industry. She and Shu Jin will get married soon. You, a bankrupt and incompetent rich girl, should give up this idea. Encouraged by Uncle Chen's praise, Lin Yu became even more arrogant. When I become famous, maybe I can arrange a bit part for you as an extra. Shu Jin has already gone to Shanghai. Stop pretending here to win sympathy. In his eyes, you're nothing more than a plaything that can be bought with money. Be sensible and let go. Maybe with my resources as a future movie queen, I can still help you make a name for yourself. Lin Yu looked extremely proud. As if victory was already in her grasp, a cold sneer curled up on my lips. Since that's the case, I'll you all. Hearing this, Lin Yu left triumphantly with Chen Shujin's parents. Watching them leave, I took out my phone and contacted Butler Zhao. Book a plane ticket to Shanghai right away. In response to Butler Zhao's puzzled question, I said softly, I'm going to give my sugar daddy boyfriend a surprise. Upon arriving downstairs at Chen Shujin's apartment, I composed a message. I miss you, guess where I am. Then I sent a photo of the boarding pass I had just taken. In less than a minute, Chen Shujin called in a panic. Xiaoqing, why did you suddenly come to Shanghai? I haven't tidied up here yet. Don't worry, what's there to prepare? Send me the address, I'll be there soon. After saying that, I pretended to have a bad signal and hung up the phone. Sure enough, not long after, I saw Lin Yu rushing out of the apartment in disheveled clothes. Before leaving, I could still hear Chen Shujin whispering, be careful, don't let the reporters take pictures, it's not good for your acting career. Looking at this scene, I couldn't help but smile. It was really something that he could come up with such an excuse to send Lin Yu away in such a short time. Butler Zhao asked in confusion beside me, Miss, why don't you just go up and expose his lies? A glint of cunning flashed in my eyes. That would be too boring. I have a better idea. Moments later, I calmly rang the doorbell. Chen Shujin opened the door, trying to appear calm, but the flash of panic in his eyes and his furtive glances betrayed him. After making sure it was safe around, he forced a smile. Xiaoqing, why did you come suddenly? I've missed you so much. I held his slightly cold and trembling hand. I came here especially to spend Valentine's Day with you. Isn't Valentine's Day next week? Chen Shujin was stunned. You are going to stay here for a week. What? Not welcome. I deliberately put on a stern face, and he was so frightened that he quickly shook his head and forced a smile that looked worse than crying. Of course not. Xiaoqing loves me the most. He probably didn't know how fake his expression was at this moment. During the meal, I casually scrolled through my phone and brought up the casting list that was about to start. Honey, these actresses all look about the same to me. Which one do you think stands out more? Chen Shujin carefully took the phone and casually mentioned a few, and finally said as if inadvertently, Lin Yu also has good conditions. Oh. Now that you mention it, she is quite outstanding. I replied meaningfully, seeing my positive response. A calculating look flashed in Chen Shujin's eyes, and he said, but I heard she doesn't have any connections. Even if she's excellent. I ate slowly and said lightly, these days, having money is equivalent to having connections, isn't it? Chen Shujin seemed to be thinking, mechanically chewing on the bitter gourd that he usually hated the most. At noon the next day, Butler Zhao reported that Chen Shujin had sold all the famous watches I gave him, and the money had been transferred to the gold card I gave him. It seemed that he was going to take a desperate gamble and bet everything on Lin Yu. Finally, the day of the competition that Lin Yu and Chen Shujin had been looking forward to arrived. At the talent show venue, every contestant was doing their best to showcase their talents. Lin Yu's performance was particularly outstanding. I sat on the judges' panel and watched her perform a deeply moving scene, looking affectionately at the judges' panel. No, to be precise, she was looking at Chen Shujin. The male judges around were talking among themselves. Lin Yu's acting is really touching. Those eyes, that temperament, it's simply captivating. I wonder if she has a boyfriend. She definitely deserves a vote. We can't miss such a good talent. If I didn't know about her relationship with Chen Shujin, I might have been deceived by her innocent and charming appearance. Looking at Chen Shujin's infatuated look in the audience, I remembered what he had once said about idol chasers. Nowadays, men can't walk straight when they see a beautiful female celebrity. They look like they've never seen the world. His present infatuated appearance made me sick. After leaving the audition site, I sent a message to Butler Zhao. Are all the preparations in place? Looking up at the star-filled sky, I was in a trance for a moment. The vibration of my phone brought me back to reality. It was another provoking message from Lin Yu. You're a bankrupt loser. You can't give Chen Shujin the life he wants. On the phone screen was a picture of Chen Shujin and Lin Yu being intimate in the backstage dressing room. Lin Yu's phone was facing the mirror, and Chen Shujin's arms had already wrapped around her slender waist. Chen Shujin was lost in it, unaware that this intimate moment had been secretly shared with me by Lin Yu. Looking at this provoking message, a cold sneer curled up on my lips. Pretending to be high and mighty, you're just a woman who climbs the ladder by relying on men. This words apparently hit Lin Yu's sore spot, and she immediately called in a fit of anger. How dare you say I rely on men? Who do you think you are? I'll make Shujin freeze all your cards right now. Let's see how you live, I said indifferently. As you like. Then I directly cut off the call. Just then, a message from Butler Zhao popped up. Miss, all the preparations are in place. I looked out at the gradually clearing night sky and said softly, the good show is about to begin. It's time to invite the main characters to the stage. Butler Zhao paused for a moment and then replied, understood. I'll go inform young Master Chen and ask Miss Shua to take her place at the proposal site first. On the LED display outside the performance hall, the host was passionately announcing, the competition has come to a successful conclusion. Now we are entering the vote counting stage. Please wait a moment. I sat in the elaborately decorated proposal venue, waiting for the climax of this good show. This scene had appeared in my mind countless times. The annoyance of the fruitless high school relationship, the perseverance in striving for my dreams while studying abroad, the throbbing when we met again after returning to the country, the joy when I received the pregnancy physical examination report. However, at this moment, being in it, my mood was completely different. Suddenly, the host's voice broke the silence. Dear audience friends, while we're waiting for the vote counting, let's witness a major event in Judge Chen Shujin's life. Turning around, I saw Chen Shujin being surrounded by the crowd, standing in the middle of the stage with a panicked look on his face. Xiaoqing, what are you going to? I reached out and gently stroked his face, smiling and saying, I prepared a surprise for you. Before I could finish speaking, Chen Shujin's parents suddenly pushed through the crowd and rushed onto the stage. Standing in front of their son, Aunt Chen pointed at me angrily. Why are you going back on your word? Didn't you promise not to harass my son anymore? Uncle Chen also rolled up his sleeves, looking ready to fight. They were completely unaware that Chen Shujin behind them had turned ashen-faced and was muttering to himself, harass me. Aunt Chen tightly held her son's hand and said in a gentle tone, if it weren't for Xiaolin telling us, I wouldn't have known you were still being pestered by this bankrupt woman. She looked down on you in high school, and now that you've made something of yourself, she's trying to seduce you again, and she even dares to ask to marry you. She really doesn't know her place. Uncle Chen spat, his face full of contempt. The scene immediately erupted into discussions. Is that Xiaolin the beauty who performed just now? So she already has a boyfriend. This mistress looks familiar. Where have I seen her before? Chen Shujin stood there dumbfounded, his fingers slightly trembling as he tugged at his mother's sleeve. Aunt Chen continued to talk non-stop. Don't be afraid, with mom and dad here, we won't let this kind of woman who tries to marry into a wealthy family harm you, thanks to Xiaolin's reminder, otherwise we wouldn't have known you were still being pestered by such a person. I leaned back in my chair, quietly watching Chen Shujin's reaction. His lips were trembling. Mom, it's not what you think, please don't say any more. Unfortunately, his weak voice was drowned out by his parents' scolding and the noise of the onlookers. Chen Shujin, who had always presented himself as gentle and refined, finally erupted, in front of the national audience. He suddenly pushed his mother away. That's enough, you two go back, don't embarrass me here. Aunt Chen fell heavily to the ground, hitting her forehead and bleeding, which stunned Uncle Chen. The scene fell into a deathly silence. The host was the first to react. Mr. Chen, we're still live broadcasting. Instantly, the audience became indignant, saying Chen Shujin for being unfilial. At this time, a shrill female voice cut through the commotion. You shameless money worshipper, how dare you come all the way to Shanghai to harass my boyfriend? Everyone looked in the direction of the voice and saw Lin Yu pushing through the crowd. She helped Aunt Chen up, snatched the microphone, and said excitedly, this woman has been pestering my boyfriend. I've warned her to stay away, but she just won't give up. Please judge for me. Only then did I realize that Lin Yu was not only good at acting but also a natural drama queen. Under her tearful accusation, the crowd began to condemn me. So she's not only a money worshipper but also a mistress who breaks up other people's relationships. Lin Yu is so brave. Even if she has a boyfriend, I'll still be her fan. Get out, you money-grubbing slut. Facing the abuse from all directions, a cold sneer curled up on my lips. And I looked sharply at Chen Shujin. Chen Shujin, I prepared a special surprise for you. Butler Zhao gracefully pulled open the stage curtain, revealing a shocking scene. The scene immediately exploded. The photos on the wall were divided into two parts. On one side were the private photos of Lin Yu and Chen Shujin, and on the other side were the chat records of Chen Shujin asking me for money and the bank statements. Upon careful comparison, it was found that every time Chen Shujin got a large sum of money from me, Lin Yu would show various expensive gifts on her social media. Lin Yu's posts were full of the sense of superiority of being kept, as if she wanted the whole world to know how popular she was. It's so disgusting. Lin Yu actually climbs the ladder by selling herself. She looks noble and elegant on the surface, but this is what she's really like behind the scenes. This man is even more terrifying. He uses his girlfriend's money to support his mistress. The entertainment industry is really a mess these days. Lin Yu, who had been arrogant just now, turned pale under the accusations of the crowd. She rushed up to Chen Shujin, grabbed his collar, and questioned him. Chen Shujin, didn't you say you were wealthy? Where did all this money come from? Before she could finish speaking, Chen Shujin pushed her away. Shut up. Lin Yu staggered back a few steps, rubbing her sore shoulder, and finally saw the truth clearly. She immediately knelt down in front of me, tugging at the hem of my skirt and pleading bitterly, Miss Su, I'm willing to give this liar Chen Shujin back to you. I was kept in the dark by him and misunderstood that you were the mistress. Please be magnanimous and forgive me. I looked down at her coldly and kicked her away. Was this the strength when you kicked over my hospital bed? Lin Yu was stunned, realizing that I wouldn't let her go easily. She suddenly stood up, straightened her clothes, and somehow gained confidence and straightened her back. Even without Chen Shujin, I'll still become famous all over the country after tonight. This kind of thing is nothing in the entertainment industry. It will be forgotten soon, with my conditions. Sooner or later I sneered contemptuously, interrupting her daydream. Unfortunately, the organizing committee has solid evidence of Chen Shujin bribing the judges. Lin Yu looked at Chen Shujin, who was sitting on the ground, in horror, her fists clenched so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Chen Shujin stared at me in disbelief. Where did you get the evidence? Butler Zhao took out a stack of photos from inside his suit and threw them at Chen Shujin. Young Master Chen, these were investigated by a private detective. Every shot is clear. The photos fluttered to the ground. Isn't this the judge who was full of praise for Lin Yu just now? Isn't this the acting tutor who gave Lin Yu a high score? So they all accepted bribes to vote for Lin Yu. Lin Yu looked at the photos all over the ground, looking dazed. The host quickly snatched the microphone and announced, just received a notice from the organizing committee. The vote counting is suspended immediately. Contestant Lin Yu's participation is cancelled, and the competition is temporarily halted. Chen Shujin, ignoring Lin Yu's breakdown, came up to me and tried to evoke my feelings by mentioning that I was pregnant. He whispered in my ear, Ching Ching. I was temporarily confused and blinded by her. For the sake of our baby, please forgive me, okay? As he said this, he was about to touch my abdomen. I disgustedly shook off his hand and wiped it hard on my clothes, pointing at Lin Yu and shouting, Lin Yu is also pregnant with your child, go to her. Chen Shujin stood there dumbfounded, and then glanced at Lin Yu with contempt. How could I want Lin Yu's child? She's just a poor actress. She's not worthy of me at all. A flash of unwillingness appeared in Lin Yu's eyes, which was then replaced by overwhelming anger. On the photo wall, she was snuggling in Chen Shujin's arms, smiling brightly, and Chen Shujin was looking at her affectionately, but now he was so disgusted with her. She took out a fruit knife from her bag and rushed towards us frantically. Miss Su, be careful. Butler Zhao rushed forward and stood in front of me amidst the screams. I looked up. Butler Zhao, are you okay? I nervously grabbed Butler Zhao and found that he was unharmed. Following Butler Zhao's horrified gaze, I saw Chen Shujin lying in a pool of blood. Lin Yu was holding the blood-stained knife and stabbing crazily at Chen Shujin's lower body. You actually despise me. I'll make sure you never have any descendants in this life. Her manic laughter made everyone present shudder. Lin Yu wiped the blood splattered on her face onto the photo wall behind her. Chen Shujin's blood was even more redder than the lipstick in their group photo. The tragic scene in front of them made everyone afraid to step forward. Only Chen Shujin's parents crawled forward on their knees, hugged their son's body, and cried out in despair, "My poor child, what kind of evil have we done, Lin Yu, you poisonous woman?" Aunt Chen, holding Chen Shujin's body, fainted in grief. The onlookers snapped out of their shock and rushed forward to subdue the out-of-control Lin Yu. Someone immediately contacted the emergency center, and someone else quickly called the police. Amid the wail of sirens and the howl of the ambulance, this bloody live broadcast finally came to a temporary end. Butler Zhao looked at me, still calm and composed, as if he wanted to say something but held back. He looked at the photo wall stained with blood, let out a long sigh, and said, "It's time to deal with the scene, it's all over." Back home, as I looked at the promotional message sent by the wedding company, my thoughts drifted away. "Miss Su, the custom-made dress you were interested in before has arrived. Do you need to come and try it on with your fiancé?" When we were young, Chen Shujin had promised me the most romantic wedding. Unexpectedly, in the end, what I gave him was a bloody surprise. The knock on the door pulled me back to reality. "Miss Su, I've invited a private doctor to examine you." While the doctor was conducting the examination, Butler Zhao reported on the follow-up of Lin Yu and Chen Shujin. After that farce, Chen Shujin was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. However, the damage to his vital parts was so severe that they had to be removed during the operation. The attending doctor said he would never be able to have children for the rest of his life. After waking up, Chen Shujin blamed all the faults on his parents. Uncle Chen jumped off the top floor of the hospital that night. Aunt Chen, witnessing her husband's tragic state, had a mental breakdown and is now insane all day long. I couldn't help but shake my head and sigh. What about Lin Yu? She was arrested and imprisoned for intentional injury. But there's one more thing. Butler Zhao hesitated to speak. After the private doctor confirmed that I was in good health, he continued, "Chen Shujin has repeatedly asked to see you in the hospital." I looked at the group photo of Chen Shujin and me on the table, remained silent for a moment, and said, "Then I'll go. I'm Lin Yu, the woman Shujin truly loves." "Who?" I chose to sit on the chair farthest from the hospital bed, looking at him coldly. Chen Shujin's lips trembled. "Have I become nothing in your heart?" I gently shook my head. A flash of resentment appeared in his eyes, and his tone was filled with unwillingness. The change from doting to coldness really breaks my heart. I propped my chin and looked at him with interest. Chen Shujin touched his lower body, putting on a pitiful look. "Don't you feel any pity for our unborn child?" Butler Zhao couldn't help but sneer, and Chen Shujin looked at him in confusion. Miss Su had already dealt with that child. She won't let the blood of a traitor stain her life. Chen Shujin's face turned ashen, and he muttered to himself, "How could you? How could you?" He struggled to get out of bed and reached out to grab me. The moment he was about to touch my sleeve, I got up and walked towards the door of the ward. "If there's nothing important, I'll be leaving. I came today just to make a clean break with my youth." As I held the doorknob, I remembered something else and turned back to say to him, "Actually, Lin Yu was capable of winning first place on her own. She didn't need any shortcuts. However, she chose to rely on you, and you chose to rely on money." With the sound of the door closing, Chen Shujin and I completely went our separate ways. From that day on, Lin Yu became a prisoner behind bars, and Chen Shujin could only sink forever in the lies he had woven.